6 more people killed through starvation in just one day, with dozens of others killed by Israeli fire in Gaza on Sunday, many of them shot while trying to secure some food. Officially, nearly 100 children have now been killed by a lack of food in Gaza, supplies cut off by Israel. On Sunday, Israel decided to allow some trucks of fuel to enter the enclave, another vital resource that has been withheld, leaving hospitals and other essential services at a standstill. A few countries have also started to airdrop some food, a dangerous and inefficient answer to a man-made famine, according to most NGOs, and indeed Gazans so desperately in need.
I'm the oldest of my siblings. My father was killed in an airstrike yesterday. I'm asking people here to give me a plate of flour or a meal from the aid that arrived today. This is the first time we're seeing it.
I'm a widow and the mother of 6 children, one of whom is injured. I go out every day amid death to bring them food. I see the dead and wounded. Why can't the aid be delivered to warehouses and distributed via text messages? If I'm killed, who will take care of my children?
My husband is paralysed, and there are widows and women like me who can't secure food for their children. Some young men take the aid and sell it at high prices. I'm helpless and I cannot afford to buy it.
We can cross now live to Ramallah in the West Bank to talk with the spokesperson for Oxfam International, Dr. Hadeel Qazzaz. Thanks so much for your time. Dr. Qazzaz, we're seeing the pictures there. We're hearing from the people. We're getting an idea of some of the figures of the people being killed through starvation. But what is the latest you are hearing on that situation in Gaza? What more can you tell us?
Actually, the situation is desperate, and the little aid that entered Gaza in the last few days didn't really change the reality in the Gaza Strip. People are still starving. Families, especially families of certain vulnerability, like widowers or women who are taking care of children, or elderly, or families with many children with the special needs, all of them cannot access the food as they should and as it is available in the market. Also, the fuel that entered Gaza, 2 trucks that are barely needed for the hospitals. And as you rightly said, it's much needed for many other things, including, for example, the purification of water. Many people are in desperate need for clean water for drinking and for cooking, if they can find anything to cook. And there is no cooking fuel at all in the Gaza Strip. People are basically burning anything they can find. It could be wood, it could be clothes, it could be old furniture, anything, so they can heat a little bit of water and they cook the little food they can have access to. We hear that the situation is the same. Nothing is changing much, and the prices are still very high. And our colleagues are really in bad shape, and they suffer fatigue because of lack of food. That's what we hear constantly from them.
Now, you mentioned there that there has been a tiny trickle of aid being allowed in recent days. Can you give us just an idea of the percent, like, what is needed compared to what is getting in, and what in fact is happening to that aid because of the way it is currently being distributed?
In fact, what's coming in is only, as many people say, as we say, it's a drop in the ocean, because the needs have been accumulating for more than 22 months. The needs have been increasing. The needs are not only for food. What has been distributed so far is mainly flour and some canned food. We say that there are a huge need for other things, including vegetables, meat, dairy products, other things, and this didn't enter at all to the Gaza Strip. The drop of the mechanism, with the way that the aid is distributed, is not working, and it's obvious because of there are only 4 locations for distribution that are guarded by military, that people get shot at when they go to seek food. There are some airdrops. In many cases, what falls from the air doesn't end up with Palestinians. Actually, it is swayed with air and with the way it's dropped. It's swayed to what's known as red area. Red areas are controlled by the Israeli army, and it's no man's zone. Nobody can go there. Anyone who tries to go and retrieve the things that dropped from the air will be shot and killed. Many people are very desperate, and they just want to go and access food, and therefore that's why there are alarming numbers of killed and injured people. The injured will end up dead because the hospitals are struggling with lack of supplies and lack of manpower and human power to operate the hospitals. Our colleagues are suffering fatigue, and so are the doctors. Some of them are working 3 days maybe without eating anything. Therefore, that's why we keep asking and demanding for returning to the initial mechanism, which is tested and proven that it's functioning. And that's what the widower you interviewed is talking about. People used to go to identified warehouses after receiving a text message without crowds, without anyone struggling to reach to the distribution point or pushing each other or even stamping on each other. They will receive a text, they will come and receive a parcel that contains what they really need. What they really need is much more. They need many things: cleaning materials, soap, women need some dignity kits, they need clothes, they need shelters, many things. And therefore, that's what we keep asking for, to go to the regular and normal humanitarian setting, as in any country around the world, where the UN organizes a mechanism and distributes roles and responsibilities, including to international NGOs and local NGOs who have been trying their best to work and to help their population. And we also demand for...
Sorry, there's a clear system that would work in place. I'm hearing you say that can get back up and running as soon as Israel would allow it to. But you mentioned there a little bit earlier the water supplies. We don't talk about it as much, but can you give us an idea of what the situation is like there and how widespread it is across Gaza?
Yeah, it is an area that Oxfam is specialized in. We are concerned about people reaching to safe water, drinking water, and so far our aid, which contains tablets for purification of water, is not entering. Not also the pipes and the materials that are needed for fixing the pumps for the water are not there. What we hear is that very widespread of waterborne diseases, and including 300% increase in bloody diarrhea and 150% increase in diarrhea. And it's things that happen because people drink contaminated water, and the water is also contaminated because of the amount of garbage that is spreading around, where almost 2 million people are crowded in 12% of the area of the Gaza Strip, which was, even before the war, the highest populated area in the world. And we are talking about population that almost 60% of our children. It means that children are actually living on garbage and drinking contaminated water and not eating proper food, and they're suffering from all areas. And this is all a cause of death, which is very imminent. Actually, the World Food Program today said that 1 out of 3 people actually in the Gaza Strip now go days without eating anything or drinking clean water or even sleeping because of the continuous bombardment and the military operations around them.
The level of suffering is hard to... We have to face that reality and accept the reality. But you also talked briefly about the hospitals there. I mean, what is left running in Gaza? So many of them have been directly targeted, and the doctors indeed as well.
Before the war, there were 36 hospitals. Now there is only 2 big hospitals operating in the Gaza Strip. And most of them are crowded to the degree that people are laying on the ground because there are no beds available for them. Most of their machines are destroyed. There is no electricity, so they totally depend on generators, which means that any medical instruments that need electricity actually will stop as soon as the fuel stops reaching the hospitals. This means heart machines, dialysis machines, incubators for babies, anything that is related to the health that needs any electricity basically is not functioning. Doctors, I heard real stories about doctors in these hospitals who actually use some of the supplies like the infusion to feed themselves, to give themselves some energy to keep them going, because they are operating on tens and tens of injured people every day, and they have to lose patients and to choose which patient to actually help, because they have a higher survival rate. Many of the people who work also in the what we call civil service, the ambulances, the fire brigades, they are functioning basically without any tools. Most of their trucks were destroyed, and they have to, sometimes families have to deliver the patients to the hospitals, carrying them on donkey carts or on their bicycles or anything that they can carry them on. So this hospital situation is very, very dire, and it's very scary. The doctors and the nurses who are working there, some of them work shifts for weeks and without any stop because of the lack of personal power in the hospitals.
And finally, Dr. Qazzaz, before we leave you, I mean, we are, of course, focusing on that hellish, unbearable situation in Gaza, but you're coming to us from the West Bank. What's the latest there? Because we have seen a sharp rise in the violence and attacks in the West Bank since the war in Gaza began as well.
Absolutely. First of all, the different areas in the West Bank are disconnected almost totally with checkpoints and gates, iron gates that doesn't allow people to move freely. But since a week, actually, every day, at least one person is killed by settlers. And in one case, at least, the settler was filmed while shooting a person, and a teacher, a school teacher with 4 children, father of 4 children, was killed by gunshots by a settler who was filmed. And this is happening in many places. I live in Ramallah. Around Ramallah, there is always continuous attacks from settlers. The life is controlled totally by the checkpoints and the gates and restriction of movements, which is also very alarming. I think people are worried because also they watched what happened in the northern of the West Bank refugee camps, Jenin, Tulkarem, and Nablus, where they were basically totally destroyed, same as in the Gaza Strip. Buildings were bulldozed. People were not allowed to retrieve their stuff. They were not allowed to take their things, and they were evacuated in a hurry and ended up forcibly displaced in other villages surrounding the refugee camps. So I think there's a general environment of fear and intimidation and worry of what's going to happen next, also in the West Bank.
Dr. Hadeel Qazzaz, we'll have to leave it there, but thank you so much for joining us and with your time and bringing us more on the inside of those hellish situations in the Palestinian territories.